Okay, folks.
Okay.
So we just did like a good 4 minute talk right there. But I forgot to click record, folks. So we love that. That was my worst fear. But I'm so glad that I don't know, something just told me to have both screens pulled up. So I got a notice. So I am your host, Josias April. With us we have Dylan. Dylan, a good thing to reintroduce yourself. You I asked you earlier, tell us a little bit about your platform before folks we get into whatever we will be talking about today. Tell us a little bit about your platform. And it will be in the episode description below, folks. The YouTube, all the social medias, all of it, you can find it below. But yeah, Dylan, tell us a little bit about platform.
Yeah. So, I'm a fitness coach. We did just get done doing a bodybuilding competition. So, like, the whole premise of doing that was essentially to kind of basically break out of my comfort zone. And two, one of my friends, it was kind of her dream to do her first bikini show. So, essentially, we did it together. But my original intention wasn't actually to do the full competition. It was basically to just kind of prep with her and everything. And then she talked me into doing the actual show. And she's like, "You're doing all the work. You might as well just jump into the show or do the show." So I did, and it was probably one of the most challenging things I've done, but it was one of the best decisions that I've made in a long time because it just created this like ripple effect in other areas of my life. Like I was getting up super early, I was getting more stuff done, I was becoming more time efficient and everything. And so, but my platform, as you can kind of see on my platform, you'll see a bunch of like shots from that and everything like that. But mostly it's just kind of like motivational kind of stuff to kind of inspire people and just get people kind of in the state of mind of what it means to kind of take fitness seriously and kind of take it and kind of make it an important part of their lives and everything like that. So, it's full of all kinds of stuff and everything like
Yeah.
that. It's mostly just to kind of motivate people and get people,
Yeah.
you know, with
If
that.
I'm not mistaken, you also have a YouTube as well.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That was so the YouTube is something that we kind of jumped into probably a year ago, started taking it seriously. My videographer, his name is Darnell Reese. He actually used to be a audio engineer and everything. And so he's been doing video work for the past 10 years and he's amazing. The quality of his work is like absolutely phenomenal and it's very good. So if you ever want to check it out and everything like that, it's Una Fitness. You can find it basically just by typing in UNAFITNESS, and it's got how-to videos, kind of short circuit videos, at home workouts, stuff like that. But now it's becoming more of kind of like it's shifting more into a vlog. So like kind of what I was talking about before, it's got videos on the process of what I was going through with that prep and everything like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's cool. It's fun.
Yeah, that's super awesome. I remember I've been thinking about asking you to be on the podcast for a while now. So I finally just like did it. I really believe in what you do. Um, Yeah, and folks, all of the information will be in the episode description below. So, like, after this episode, Dylan, I'll just have you send me anything that you want me to put in the episode description.
Okay,
And I got your
cool.
back. Yeah, we support here, folks. We love it. Okay, so let's see what's on the menu today. So, I wrote down from last time, the things that you're interested in talking about. Okay, folks. So we got nutrition and how it affects well-being, following heart and passions, persist through the falls of the journey, spending time with nature, yeah, relationships, past trauma, and also burnout. So Dylan, which one we starting off with?
Honestly, you could just you can pick any of those and everything
Oh
like
no,
that.
put the pressure on you. I don't know which one.
Um,
They're so
let's
good.
well, there's a lot of topics there, so let's just go with the first one. We'll start with the top.
Okay.
first one, something like that. So
Yeah. Okay, cool, cool, cool. And if we don't get into ooh, actually, okay. I take that back. I definitely there is something I actually want to hear about
perfect.
first. Yeah, and obviously, we won't get to all of it. It's impossible to get it all done in an hour, but never say never. But like I said, you're always welcome for a part two for sure. Okay. Ooh, relationships. Hmm, that that and I know that that can be like, that doesn't just mean romantic. That could also mean, like just friendships, like a work environment, everyday life, relationship with oneself as well. 'Cause we spend the most time with ourselves than anybody else, because we're living in our body. Um, yeah, Dylan, what about relationships stood out to you? Because you had when we were going over, okay, what do you want to talk about, and just spurted out all this wisdom. So let's go with relationships. What about that stood out to you? What made you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so I mean, like as a fitness coach, relationships are a huge component of like what we do and everything like that because obviously you can't really expect a person to grow and develop if you guys don't have a strong relationship, but I guess more on the internal side, like relationship with self, it's really kind of one of those things that I think a lot of people neglect is the understanding with
Mm,
themselves and how it affects the world around them. Because when you don't have a strong understanding of yourself, it does make things confusing and it does make your ability to kind of just, what, actually, hold on.
I see
Are
what
we
you
able
mean.
to like edit? Are we able to like cut some of this out and edit some of this and everything like that? I don't know if that's possible.
Um, technically, yeah, I can, but with the whole thing of vulnerability time, it's okay to fuck up and make mistakes and stuff like that.
Okay.
What you just said, no, like you made a great point. It kind of goes into like the relationship with ourselves. We can end up projecting that onto others, whether we know it or not.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what.
Let's talk about, yeah. So I guess there we go. So with projection and everything like that, that's something that. So going back to kind of what I was saying, I was losing train of thought a little bit, but yeah, projections. It's a huge thing that people really don't like. People understand it and get it, but those kind of outward projections that people see, that people obviously put out, are really unresolved issues within themselves that can become damaging if not obviously
Mhm.
addressed. And so I think it's important to take time to spend time with yourself. Obviously, that's
Yeah.
something that a lot of people,
Mhm.
there are a lot of people in the world that really don't spend enough time with themselves because maybe they're scared of kind of seeing the shadow, the darker parts of themselves, and they don't want to approach those things and they don't want to face those things, the demons, I guess, if you could put it that
Yeah.
way. And
Mhm.
that's problematic because if you are in a situation that does elicit a specific response or a specific reaction, it can really create a
Yeah.
damaging effect within a relationship. And then that kind of builds up on one another. And then eventually it just creates kind of a wall between whether it's intimate or whether it's romantic, whether it's a friendship. It can kind of create a
Yeah.
wall between you two because it's not something that's you took time to resolve. And obviously, we're not going to be
Right.
perfect. We're not going to be perfect, but
Right.
it's important to address those little like
Yeah.
you know
Yeah. Exactly. Like you said, we're not going to be perfect, and that doesn't mean we're not, capable of growth and learning, and like learning our relationship with ourselves. So I think you just thanks for the wisdom, Dylan. Literally. Also, don't worry about like losing train of thought. There have been plenty of episodes where I literally have just stopped talking for 30 seconds, and we all were just in silence because I lost my train of thought, and it turns out I never found that train again. So I just tell people I was like, I fucked up, but this is vulnerability time. We stutter, we lose our train of thoughts on here. Oh well, we're human. Yeah. Okay. Something that you mentioned, and this is something that I learned um, from my higher power. I think it was like a couple months ago. Um, you had mentioned the word demons, and our own demons, and you know, and I don't know why this has never hit me before, but I made the choice um, to actively love my demons back into angels. Because I'm like, every demon used to be an angel at one point. And I just like, I'm going to love it back together. Because I was like, maybe that's what it needs for me to literally just like acknowledge, love it, validate it, like love me regardless. And I was like, maybe the demons need a hug more than they need harm.
Yeah.
Maybe they need a hug first before they need healing and help. Maybe that hug is first because that hug and that love that starts a multitude of things. But I know for me, I was too busy trying to harm it away and be so hard on those demons when um, really a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them, they just needed a hug first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a really good way to put it. And I think like it goes back to kind of what I was talking about with like working with your shadow self, because I think those
Mm.
demons or whatever shadows, negative aspects of ourselves are very they do need to be approached and they do need to be faced, and it's not a comfortable thing and it's not supposed to be a comfortable thing. So
Right.
if we've got these toxic traits and everything like that, or these really bad qualities, they're not supposed to be something that's like it's not supposed to necessarily be a fun ride to kind of work through those things and everything like that. So
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
think kind of branching off what you said, giving working through and getting to the point when you can love those demons and integrate them into your life to help kind of create a better version of yourself, because
Right.
that's really what you're doing is like you're healing these wounds and you're kind of making amends with these
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
demons to really help other people. At least
Right.
I am in my case, in my situation, when I think about myself and the bad things that I'm working through in myself, I think I'm trying to use those things to help people become more aware of their own kind of problems and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
you know,
That's beautiful, Dylan. Oh my gosh. Because even the demons have purpose, huh?
yeah,
E-
of course.
Even the demons have purpose. Wow, that is beautiful. I do have a question, though.
Mhm.
Is this your first ever podcast?
It is.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay, let's
Well,
say you.
that's why at the beginning I was like, "Hey, can you like cut some of this out and everything?" Because it's my first one and everything like that.
Oh, no, I was about to say, you were like. It's like you've been on many podcasts before. That it's just. I don't
Thank
know.
you.
You're doing phenomenal. Seriously. I was like, is this your first podcast? I was like, it doesn't sound like it. I was like, but that's a great thing. That's a great thing. Oh
Thank you.
wow,
It
it's
means
first
a lot.
podcast. I did not know that. Well, go you. Um. Okay. So, ooh, something really interesting that has been talked about a little bit, but it's never really been like an actual topic. Is that whole spending time with nature aspect? Because that is something that it's been on my mind more and more to do. I just haven't done it yet, but I can tell I'm gonna do it eventually. Um, what does that do for the body, and why does that stand out to you? I'm curious.
Um, Man, there's a lot that could be said with this, but
Yeah, right.
so I think, and this is just like so I've got a multitude of beliefs and everything like that, but I think spending time in nature kind of reconnects us and disconnects us from kind of the bombarding of frequencies that we're constantly surrounded with
Yeah.
cell phones and with technology, which I'm not bashing those things obviously because
Right.
they
It's
aid.
just an observation.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so if you can take a step back and reconnect with Gaia and like reconnect with Earth and nature, it can really help you kind of discover. And I mean, going back to what we talked about at the beginning too, it can really help you kind of heal specific wounds because it's almost like meditation in a way because it does reconnect you to yourself and it takes you away from all the other distractions because you're back, you know, in nature.
Mm.
So I it's healing in
Wow.
my mind and everything like that in a literal sense, I guess. You're
Yeah.
talking about like walking in plant like around plants and stuff like that and like trees and everything.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, see, two things about that. There's actually a lot of studies that do say spending time in nature um, actually helps the mental health. Obviously, it doesn't work like that for everybody, but they said that that is a reality for a lot of folks.
Yeah.
So it's clearly valid. And then two, something I never thought about necessarily. You made me think about it. Is kind of like boy, I need a shave. See
Wait, what?
there I go, getting off track.
Oh, you're talking about
Honestly,
this and everything?
hmm,
You're talking about your facial hair and everything?
right here. I need a
It looks
shave.
good. You look good.
Thanks.
Yeah, you look
Stop
great.
it. I appreciate that. I really, really do appreciate that. It's nice to hear compliments.
Of course.
So our relationship with Gaia, which also we know as Earth, um, I know for me, when I speak of Earth, majority of the time, not all the time, but majority of the time, when I'm talking about the world, I'm talking about the people in it. So when I say, oh, I'm tired of the world, Earth is annoying, I'm meaning people. But then I'm like, also, you just made me think of like, at least for me personally, I think I need to develop a relationship with Gaia, with Earth. I think so. I mean, she's doing her best to, feed us, keep us alive.
Yeah.
Um, it seems like she loves us, but we can grow in learning to love her better. There we go. I'll say that we can
Yeah.
definitely grow in that. But it seems like she loves us the best that she can. Like she's feeding us all these beautiful sceneries. That actually like really encourages me to spend time with nature.
Yeah. And I mean, it doesn't, well, I mean, there's like a bunch of different ways you can look at it too, because like nature doesn't necessarily have to be spending time in like the physical nature. Spending time in nature can also mean spending time with nature that your own human nature, like whether it's, I guess if
Mm,
you're a competitive person, your nature is more, more towards the fire and more towards like being competitive and cultivating that
yeah.
aspect. Or maybe it's you're more of a passive person and you're more of a timid person, and maybe your nature is more of like being calm and more, spending time with cultivating that aspect of nature. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a
Mm.
physical thing, but sorry to switch that up like that.
No, no. This is what this podcast is for. It's to free flow, conversational, go from here to here, back to there, whatever. That's interesting. You made me learn something right there. Like the different types of nature, like our human nature. Just like there's different aspects of like relationship. It's not just exclusive to romantic.
Yeah, or like
Hmm.
empathy, compassion. Maybe you need to spend more time being more of a compassionate person, and because some people lose touch with the
Yeah.
components of what it means to be human and human
Yeah.
nature. So yeah.
Honestly, Dylan, recently I've been like wishing that I could like lose touch with compassion and stuff like that. Obviously, in the long run, that's not gonna benefit me, and honestly, I'd rather stay as compassionate as I am than not have compassion. Um, it just it's hard when you come across others who have lost their compassion or maybe were never taught compassion or shown compassion or loved towards compassion. All of it. There's multiple realities of why something is or isn't. So, but I don't know. I'm just gonna be vulnerable. It's hard. It can definitely be hard being compassionate in a not as compassionate environment, and it can be just strangers at the store, just whatever. So I don't know. Hearing you say that, it's kind of holding me accountable. I just feel like my higher power is holding me accountable through you to just be like, you know what, it's okay to be compassionate. It's more of a gift than a curse, I swear.
Yeah,
Because I definitely I feel like I can be compassionate to a fault. Obviously, I'm working on that, and I'm able to, set boundaries. However, it's just not perfect, and the boundaries. I mean, it's just not perfect. It's doing a lot better than like a year ago or 2 years ago.
yeah,
Um, I don't know, but it's just been something on my mind recently. There's been a lot of things on my mind, by the
of
way.
course,
Just
always.
fun fact. Yeah, it's just like fun fact. I was like,
Yeah,
my ADHD, I will think of everything. And also, I like to just learn um, the social science, everything that's not physical mostly. And so, like, I'm a lot more aware of certain things because I also utilize it to learn. And something that I have been aware of is like, it seems like there's definitely, at least from what I've experienced. And now I've experienced a lot of compassionate people, but what I'm saying is like when I'm in an environment where someone isn't as compassionate, it hurts, and the hurt is so much more rememberable. It's so much more memorable than happiness. For whatever reason, humans are like this. We are just like, we can have 100, or yeah, I want to be different. We can have 100 happy moments, but there's that like 101st hurt, and like that is so easy because it seems like it has a harder impact, so it's like easy to remember. So that's kind of like what I'm dealing with right now. Is like that internal battle of like, listen, Josias, it is okay to be compassionate. Just continue to work on, compassionate with boundaries. And it's just like in my personal life, I'm pretty good with it, but it's like when I'm around like strangers, I'm not the best at
no,
it. Yeah.
it and like with the boundaries thing too. It's like I think that's something that I've had to learn over the past. Probably the same thing. Like it was really bad. It was probably really bad. It was really bad before, and I've had to learn a lot about putting up boundaries just with my clients and just with people in general because it does become an emotional draining thing when you're constantly putting yourself out there and you're constantly wanting to be the support for every single person around you, and it's not something that you can do it and everything like that, but at a certain point your cup empties
Yeah.
and you do have to go back and kind of refill that cup and recharge your battery and everything like that.
Right.
And then people do take advantage of that kindness, and when you don't put up boundaries and walls and everything, it's not
Mm-hmm.
even being like selfish and everything like that.
Right.
It's more selfless than anything because how
Yeah.
can you go and kind of be an energizer for other people when you're completely drained and everything like that. And so the boundaries thing is like become for me too, like it's become such a big component of my life, even with people, certain friends and certain families that I never thought I'd have to put boundaries up with. Um, but it's not because I don't love them and don't want to be around them. It's just because,
It's because you love yourself too.
yeah. And as in, if you're a very empathetic person and you feel a lot, it's easy to it takes a toll on you. It does. Like it takes a big toll on you, and it becomes very hard because it drains your battery. It literally just drains your
Yeah,
battery. So you've got to put up like boundaries are essential and
it's
everything like
essential.
that. Especially again, like with the field that I'm in and like the work that I do and everything like that, people come to you, they seek, obviously it's a physical thing, they, for the most part, where people are like, oh yeah, I want to lose weight, or I want to get stronger, I want to do this competition or whatever it is. But then there is that underside to that emotional side, that spiritual side that does come with it, because it's never just a physical thing when you train people at all. And
Mhm.
you do have to almost play a role as a therapist and everything, and like almost like a life coach in a way, because these people are not, it's not just stemming from,
Right.
oh, I'm snacking, or oh, I'm like, oh, I can't,
Mhm.
I'm eating all this. It's never just that. It's
Right.
always it's coming from something else. It's never
Right.
like that, you know. So with
Mm.
what you're saying, it's like, yeah, boundaries have to be put up. And this field of work that I do and everything like that has taught me to put up boundaries between people and be more assertive and be more um, kind of direct in a sense with people, which I've never really done before because I've always been a very,
Right, it's hard. I have a question.
yeah.
What's your personality type?
Oh man, it sounds weird, but it's honestly changed a lot. Like I used, it was like it's like I can't remember if it was ENFP. I don't remember the difference, like personality,
Hmm.
but I consider it. It's weird. It's both. I feel like I'm very outgoing, but I'm also like introverted at the same
Are
time.
you an INFJ? You seem
Maybe I
like
don't
an
know.
INFJ.
Then that is
We
okay.
You sound a lot like me. I don't know. Well, if you are an INFJ, INFJs and INFPs are close. But if you are an INFJ, I want you to know there's only 2% of us that exist in this country. Fun fact. Literally only 2%. Um, I don't know. Everything that you're saying, it's definitely. Oh man, INFJ, it's definitely giving the INFJ vibes, which is an amazing thing. Literally, because there are people that need hearts like ours.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know?
are you a pretty, would you can, because people have people describe you as like being like an empath or like a very feeling person, yeah, like that.
1000%. I feel a lot. Like I had to set a boundary within myself of like, you know what? It's okay to not take on the weight of the world, just size. It's okay to not be the superhero every time because like sometimes you gotta lay down the cape and you gotta get some rest, you
Yeah,
know. But it's hard to do that. Interesting. And also that's something interesting that you said, like the personality types can change because it can. Like
yeah,
in our healing journey, we can be one personality type like years ago, and then like 10 years later, we're a different personality type.
yeah,
That's what I think is so cool. And I'm so glad that you brought that up because I was gonna bring that up, but I actually forgot. So you bringing it up is phenomenal.
yeah,
Um, yeah, like two things can be true at once. Like yes, I care about this person, and I also care about myself, and I also need to rest as well. I also need to refill my cup. And it took me a while to learn that the word selfish, when it was first inputted into a language, um, it didn't mean something, it didn't have a stigma like it does now.
mhm,
It does now have a stigma, but at first it wasn't that at all. I would describe it best as being um, what selfish used to be. It was basically, I don't know the exact words, so don't quote me on it, but the meaning of it was basically, you know, yes, this person matters. Like, yes, I love this person, and I also love me too. So it's just like, yeah, of course, be there, help people. We can't do it all, and it's okay to be there for ourselves, especially if no one else is like being there for us. Because I know, at least for me, INFJ is like, we're definitely, we definitely are the heroes, but we don't really know how to have people be heroes for us, or people don't think that we need heroes because we come off like we have it all so well and grand, and I'm just like, oh no. I'm like, leave. Like I suffer from depression. Like I was just like, I suffer
I'm
from
actually dying.
hmm.
No, I was like, I'm actually slowly dying inside, but
Right, exactly. And I'm like, jokes on y'all. I'm like you said, I'm actually dying inside. Yay, love
no,
that. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. There was another question that I had,
yeah.
but of course I forgot.
Well,
And
here,
I don't
let
forget
me ask you
necessarily
something.
that much. I'm just like really in tune into the conversation.
Well,
Like,
like I wanted to ask you something. What inspired you to do this? Like, what inspired you to start this and everything like that? Like, to get this going and to get just to start this podcast and everything like that.
yes. So,
You may be asking.
have I ever told you, anyways?
No, not really.
Oh,
No.
cool. Oh, great. Okay, great. Okay, so originally the name of this podcast was going to be You Are Not Alone.
Okay.
And then it changed into Vulnerability Time, which I liked a lot better because I recorded episode zero, and I say episode zero because it was never released. It was technically the first episode, but it was never released. And I found myself kept trying to be like these other podcasters when they say everything so perfectly and everything is just so, and I just kept messing up. Like I think it took me like 33 times to finally get just the trailer. Just everything said correctly. Having to go in and edit, and then I was just like, I feel like that's not me. So I was like, you know what? Let's be vulnerable. Let's come not perfect. Let's fuck it up. Let's like mess up. It's okay. But the for a year, going back to the start, for about a year and a half, I was afraid to do the podcast. But and this was in a point in my life where I was just starting to love the fact that fear, it's gonna happen. It's more so, at least for me, I learned at that time in my life, fear was more so about doing the action rather than feeling the feeling. Because I'm just like, honestly, I don't want to have. It taught me that I don't want to have to wait till I'm not afraid for me to start something. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start it afraid. I'm gonna do it afraid. I'm gonna do it. And the catalyst for that was, you just never know who is on their way home to commit suicide.
Yeah.
And if someone out there is listening and they just randomly come across this podcast and they hear someone like you, and it helps them stay on this earth even just one day longer, it's worth it. So I was like, honestly, this isn't about just me. It's not about just me. So I'm just like, Josias, do it afraid. Because you remember a time where you needed to hear a random podcast. You didn't have no one that would inspire. You didn't have that. So just do it and see what happens. Because this is it's all about that person that I will never meet ever ever. You will never meet ever ever, because this is heard in about over 33 countries as of right now. So it's like, it's about them. They're, who knows, even 5 years from now, someone listening today could need to come back to this podcast 5 years from now, or someone listening today and like, I don't really need to hear it, but I'm going to listen to Dylan, but I don't really need to hear what he's saying. I'm not going through that. Your words could come up 5 years from now and help them stay on this earth just a little bit longer. So that's why I started the podcast, is because people are dying out here. I want to do anything to help them.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. And the fear thing is, it's such a powerful thing because it doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it could be a compass to lead us where we need to go next, you know?
Yeah.
Isn't
Yeah.
that fear doesn't necessarily have to always be, it's scary for sure. I mean, it's fear, but it's
Right.
like sometimes that's what we need to propel us to our next evolutionary development and everything.
Yes, exactly. And it can save us, because, like, I mean, if you see a venomous snake, I hope that someone has, okay, I'm lying, because I actually love venomous snakes. So I don't actually have fear. I actually tried to get a pet venomous snake, but they were like sold out because of the pandemic, and this was during the pandemic. So
No,
okay.
but for someone
Oh,
who's scared. Okay.
a tiger just roaming around in your neighborhood. I hope that someone would have fear enough to, not go pet it wearing a meat suit. You know what I mean? Just like, you know, it's just like, I feel like fear definitely has that stigma on it. I feel like there's multiple reasons fear has a stigma. I feel like one of the reasons is because I do know, like, at least how I've been taught and what I have observed from society is kind of like this running away from the uncomfort.
Yeah.
So I think um, so yeah, running away from the uncomfort, and I mean that in the aspects of like toxic positivity, just two things can be true at once. I was like, yeah, you can be grateful for what you have, and you can also be depressed. Like,
Right.
both
Yeah.
things can exist.
No, and it's funny too because you were talking about how you were like doing the podcast was scary. The same thing was happening when Darnell and I would meet up for videos and stuff like that because like going like before I would post videos and they would be like it would just be with my phone and stuff like that. But as soon as he came out with like the lights and the camera, like the legit camera and stuff, I was like it was nerve wracking, it was scary and everything
Oh
like that.
shit.
Yeah, and like people are
Right?
gonna be like watching and everything. Like even though like I don't have a huge presence and everything like that, but I was like, still people I know are gonna be watching and everything like that. It's still gonna be like all these like insecurities were popping up. But then the more that I started doing it, the easier it got, the more flow it
Yeah.
just started flowing easier. And then like my fear of it kind of just like subsided. And now I'm like more relaxed in front of the camera. And like I'm sure it's the same thing with you with the podcast. I'm sure like right now, like you're smooth, you're talking about it, you're talking about things and it's like buttery. So
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Props to you. Yeah, I love that you mentioned that. Yeah, it like a lot of the times on the other side of fear, we're gonna enjoy it. We are gonna enjoy it. It might not happen right away, but it's just like a lot of the times we're gonna enjoy it. It's like honestly, we don't know until we know. So yeah, and like I used to hate my voice. Now I don't mind hearing my voice. I'm just because it's like how I sound in person, like what I hear. Then like if I hear myself on a recording, I'm like, who is that? It's like
no, I'm the same way. I used to not like hearing my voice on camera and stuff. So I feel that completely.
you got a good voice. You got a good voice, Dylan.
Thank you. Well,
I love that. I love that. Okay, okay. So let's see. Okay, cool. I think we got time for one more.
sure.
This one is kind of like right up your alley, and I want to know your thoughts on this actually. Okay, so nutrition and how it can affect well-being.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start with like processed goods and processed foods because we were kind of talking about that before and everything when we first met. And like, so like when we're talking about like refined carbs and processed foods and everything like that, it, for example, of like cereals and certain granolas and stuff that's just like packaged in plastic bags like that. Not talking about like rice and stuff, but those things along those lines, it puts a lot of stress on our pancreas, and it does make our cells less responsive towards insulin, and so it can create more stress in the body, and as a result, I mean, when you are stressed, it increases cortisol and it makes it much harder to kind of like burn fat, and it does just makes us uncomfortable and everything like that. When you're uncomfortable and when you have a lot of stress, a lot of people get irritable, and then it affects the world around us, and then it makes us more likely to be agitated and everything like that. So I like when it comes to food and eating whole foods, I think it's extremely important because not only are you getting food like when you're consuming leafy greens and you're consuming quality sources of protein like arugula, kale, spinach, chicken, salmon, just stuff like that.
Oh,
You're getting it straight from
yes.
source, you're getting it
Yeah.
straight from source. It's like, unless it's been like blasted with pesticides and stuff like that, if you're getting it from like a farmer's market or something. Well, I'm serious. Like they
No,
like,
it's true. The way you said it was funny. Blast with pesticides. I was like, he got a point.
yeah, because like
Like, he's
there's,
got a
there's
point.
there's so many messed up companies that are just like putting all this stuff in our food. And I'm like, this it's you can get everything from the earth naturally. We don't need to add anything to it in that sense. You
That's
know what I
true.
mean? And not that it's always easy, to grow. Like not all of us have access to a farm, but yeah, it's fun.
Hmm.
It's funny though. But yeah, that stuff is like straight from source. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
straight from the earth, and it allows us to feel better because you're getting the nutrients that you need for your cells to function and
Yeah.
the nutrients you use. So
Mm.
yeah,
You want to know what I figured out?
what's that?
And my best friend had pointed this out. Well, he made the connections for me. So I knew that, back then everything used to be organic. Like, everything used to be organic. It was just, let's see, last century, beginning of last century, um, everything was just organic. That's just how things were, you know. And now it seems like we're kind of like trapped in the cycle of the money makers because it's like
Yeah,
it's cheaper to buy, you know, foods that probably aren't the best for us, you know,
yeah,
and then it's more expensive to buy the natural food. And so I'm just like, okay, so they're making money regardless because they know that, um, and I did a little bit of digging, a little bit about the studies of what they put in foods, and I was like, motherfuckers. I was just like, so I'm like, honestly, they're making money because it's gonna, a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people, it's gonna make us go into high cholesterol, inflammatory stomach, and guess who's getting that money? Not us,
right.
another company. So it's just like, oh, it's just a cycle. Now, this is not to bash anyone or anything like that, because I do know, like, not everyone can afford. Like, I know for me, like right now, I'm a master student. I can't afford nothing, but it's just like I can't afford to buy the healthy foods, the organic foods that I want to buy. But one day, when I get the funds, finally, I'm gonna make an attempt to eat. I would say right now I eat like a mix of like healthy and unhealthy.
Yeah,
Um, but I yeah, but yeah, but for the folks who are you know wanting to go organic or thinking about going organic, um, what would you have to say for what is any advice you could give? Or folks that even want to start their workout journey, just overall like well-being.
yeah. I mean, I'm again, it's yeah, with the whole food thing. It's like I'm not because there's certain foods that like I will consume that aren't necessarily
Yeah.
like my diet is not 100% like I'm eating, brown
Mm.
rice and chicken. And even though during the prep and everything, I was basically eating like all quality whole foods and everything,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
um, I think like a good place to start is doing a gradual um, like transition. So not going from okay, so you eat cereal in the morning and everything like that. Not going from like, okay, I'm gonna eat cereal and then I'm gonna jump straight into like sweet potatoes,
Mm.
broccoli, asparagus, like
Mm.
maybe doing something to kind of like transition slowly, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Maybe
Mm.
on your meals, add a little bit of like Brussels sprouts or something like that, or maybe
Wow.
start with like eating one meal with like spinach and
Yeah.
chicken or something like that, and just gradually. But don't, most people will rebound if they try to. It's like with people who smoke and everything
Yeah.
like that.
Like
Smoke
try
like
to
tobacco.
cold turkey it.
Yeah, some people can do that and everything like that.
Right?
And like
Mm.
I meant, I commend you. I think that's amazing if you could do that.
Hmm.
But for the other people and everything like that, like just go slow with it.
Yeah.
Don't just jump into it. Just gradually start
Right.
incorporating foods in your diet.
Fun fact, overall, cold turkeying is horrible for the brain and it puts unnecessary amount of stress on the nervous system.
Really?
So, for folks who can do it, great, go
Yeah.
you. But how the body is better to receive and to unlearn and relearn a lot of things is by, like you said, Dylan, a gradual transition. But to folks out there who can cold turkey it, good shit. Honestly, good for you. Good for
Saying.
you. Seriously,
Right.
If your body can do it,
Yeah. Like
good
if you
for.
mentally can do that, that's amazing, and like,
Must be
yeah.
nice. Okay.
So
Okay. So, folks, I know we're wrapping up here. Ooh, this is a perfect time too. It's just 45 minutes. This is perfect.
dang,
Um,
already 5 minutes. That's crazy. Or like
Dylan, you
5.
just spit so much wisdom. It's gonna be hard for me to find an advertisement soundbite. That's why I was like writing down a lot of things because I'm like writing the
Sure.
time. I was like, okay, this could be an advertisement soundbite. I have 13, 14, 17 sound bites that I gotta
Wow.
that I gotta discern. That's all you, man.
Hey,
That's
couldn't
all
do it
you.
without you. Couldn't be on here
Okay.
without you reaching out. So
Yes, and thanks for being on here. Okay, folks. Dylan, I'm going to ask you after this if you want to do a part two in the future. We would
yeah,
love to have you because I know there's a couple more things on the menu here that definitely can hit on. I definitely want to hear past trauma and burnout. I definitely want to like touch on that
yeah,
topic for sure.
yeah.
For
That's a
sure.
big one. That one for sure. I would be more than open to, if you don't want to talk about it today, doing another one and talking about that, because that one's like a load. That's going to be like a loaded one for sure.
Right, yeah. Dylan's like, that's his own episode, just as it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
All
for
right,
sure.
folks. So I will see y'all next week for whatever we will be talking about next week. I don't know whose episode's next. I don't know all that right now, folks. We're just recording. And we're just gonna release in November 2023, December 2023, one of those months. But find out, folks. Oh my God, Dylan, this is amazing. All right. Folks, to whoever is listening and watching this, if no one has told you today that you are lovable, please allow me to be the first and allow yourself to be the second. Folks, I want you right now, if you can, to randomly text someone that they are worth it or that they are loved. Just randomly. You don't even gotta respond back to them, folks. It'll be funny, just all their shock. But you just never know who needs to hear it. So I'm gonna do that right now before I forget. Okay. Oh my God, Dylan, you're about to do it too?
Of course.
Oh my God! Ah, that's too cool. Too cool.
Never know who needs it.
Okay. Cool, cool. Alrighty. Alrighty, folks. See y'all next time. Bye.
Thanks for having me. Peace.